evening, Cubs and Cardinals fans. It's Thursday, March 8th. Spring training is in full swing, and Paul DeYoung signs a big extension. Tommy Pham? Not so much. The injury bug bites, and John Lester steals a page from the 1990s Chicago Bulls. All that and more tonight.
Team Arrivals podcast starts now.
Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. There's a drive. Way back. It's Bringing a high drive into left. Back towards the creek. He's at the track. He has it. The World Champion for 2011. A little bounces slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it to Rizzo. It's in time. And the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
This is the Team of Rivals podcast. No insiders, no anonymous sources, just passionate analysis from the bleacher seats. Here are your hosts, Ron Nuttall and Peter Geddes.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to one more week of this show. It's been, for me, it's been rather baseball void, and I can explain that later, but to not bore everybody to death. Gentlemen, I have to say one thing before we start off here, before I even start asking you any questions at all. Pete, that was a fantastic intro, and you got that boy in on that.
Why, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.
There we go. Split finger fastball Pete.
That's right, with the Team of Rivals branded baseball.
Yeah, before we had issues.
Before we had issues. We'll get it back up there one of these days.
We will. It's free to get it back up there now, man. I think we're good.
I know. Yeah, it was fun. He was listening in as I was writing the intro, and he wanted to hear the music. He's the one who picked out the backing track, and he wanted to contribute. So I said, "All right, get on there and just say the Team of Rivals podcast starts now." And I tell you what, he's better than his dad, man. He nailed it in 3 takes.
He did. That was
actually
perfect.
He nailed it on the second take. We just did a third one for coverage. So he's better than his dad, I'll tell you that.
Maybe he'll start actually making some money with his podcast.
That'll be fantastic.
Someday he's put his dad in a good home.
It'll be a train podcast, and it'll be a video podcast. It'll be posted to YouTube probably sometime starting in April.
There you go.
And I'm only half kidding.
Yeah, and when it comes time, you'd be like, "Come on, Dad, we're going to go on a train ride to a special place."
They got that Thomas seminar this weekend. Let's go.
Thomas convention. Hey, one thing. Well, there's a few orders of business here. We must go through today, guys. I am officially father of a teenager. I am a father of a teenager. Right?
Good Lord. Where's the dirge, man? Ron's old.
I don't know. I am. I don't feel it. I think I still carry my youthful vibe, especially the looks. Except for all the gray hair that's growing in on the side, and the softness of my muscle tone has weakened. I have less fight in me, but other than that, I feel youthful. All right, guys. This week has been there's a lot's happened with me outside of the world of baseball. This happens twice a year. Work just gets absolutely nuts. My wife has been on a business trip in Florida all week, a golf trip, but a business trip. You know how these things go when you're a salesman. So she's been very busy, but it's left me here with three youngins. Busy, insane week at work. Thank God for the in-laws that live on the other side of the neighborhood, because I would not have survived this week. So, thank you.
Outstanding.
Guys, how's it been
Elliot,
for you, though?
Elliot, you've got a birthday wish as well today, don't you?
Yeah, my son turned 4 today. So we just took him to go get some pizza at Piper's, like Piper's Oregon Pizza Palace, and they played music, and you can let the kids run around like idiots and throw quarters at them and play games and stuff like that.
You throw quarters at kids? I want to go there.
Yeah, it's quite fun.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday to Eli. That's exciting. Happy birthday, Braden, my 13-year-old. Anybody else have a birthday they want to celebrate tonight? Anybody,
actually,
anybody watching want to?
Our occasional guest, and I'm pretty sure he is watching right now, Anthony Serafini, who joined us several months back.
That's right.
He celebrated a birthday earlier this week. So this is the big birthday podcast, apparently.
It is. All right. Happy birthday to everyone but us on here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're already old enough, man.
I know. I don't celebrate them anymore. I ignore them.
Yeah. Especially.
I swear. No, I'm just going to point this out. If you happen to be watching this, you're going to watch it later. Pete, when he takes a drink, it's like you are in a commercial because the head goes sideways and the logo just do it. That is a nice mug.
It is. It's a nice mug. Got that on Zazzle, and right back there on the shelf is the other one.
Wait a minute, what podcast? Or so what podcast?
I'm sorry,
website?
I said it wrong. It's on Zazzle, and everything on there sparkles. I'll grab it. Actually, hang on.
Oh Jesus! All right, well,
this is fascinating. For the people who are only listening to the podcast on Friday or later. This one. You can kind of see it here, but when you add hot water to it, the colors really pop. So it's good for for drinking your coffee. And then of course there's the much simpler Team of Rivals branded mug that only has the logo, doesn't have the pictures, just the baseball. That's the one where Ron is stroking his nipples, not biting them.
It happens frequently. Yeah. All right, hey. But we got one bit of business left, Pete. Where can everybody find us?
Well, they can find us on Twitter at Team of Rivals Pod, on Instagram at Team of Rivals Podcast, and search on Facebook for Team of Rivals Podcast. Best place, though, to find everything is teamofrivalspodcast.com. And you can also contact Elliot at
TOR_Elliot. That's 2 L's, 2 T's.
Outstanding. Ron.
And I've been like Ron lately, where I've been busy with work. This is my busiest time of year.
Yeah.
So I traveled up to the Great White North of Green Bay for a week, and now I'm gonna go south 90 miles to Chicago for starting tomorrow till about mid next week. So
which show is that? Is it Housewares or what do you?
Yeah. This is the International Housewares Show.
Merchandise Mart.
So
good old. Oh my God! Yeah, Pete, have you ever walked the floor of one of those?
The Merchandise Mart? Yeah, it's insane.
Housewares. Oh yeah, it is insane. We used to. The company both Elliot and I were with at one point. We used to attend it every year, and it was a big. Let's call it this. Elliot. I'm just going to call it, at least back in the day, what it was is a big 4-day drunk fest. Is what it was.
I wish it was that.
No, it's not that anymore. I know those days are never coming back, and that's fine. Yeah. It's probably better for my health, guys. So what's happening in baseball here? We've got. I mean, I can't possibly run down anything, but we have some things to definitely talk about, at least as far as contracts, non-contracts,
right?
Just really poor decisions.
Really questionable decisions, high rollers. I mean, some people are really gambling on their future and betting on themselves, which part of us loves to see that. And then part of it goes, oh man, if I had that kind of money in front of me, I wouldn't be doing that. Right. So can we start with just the latest breaking thing? We're hearing that Moustakas is headed back to Kansas City. You guys go through the terms on this and then come back, please, to the qualifying offer.
All right. So here are the terms. Moustakas, it's being reported, is going back to Kansas City on a 1-year deal with a mutual option for 2019. Base salary is $5.5 million. It's got $2.2 million in incentives. There's a mutual option for next year for $15 million. If either side decides not to, if the Royals decide not to exercise it, it's a $1 million buyout. So basically you're looking at a $6.5 million guarantee. That's the minimum that Moustakas will earn. Now, it's not a bad chunk of money until you look at exactly what he was offered. The QO from the Royals at the beginning of the offseason, $17.4 million. Mike Moustakas bet on himself and lost to the tune of $10 million. Not the best decision that was made this offseason by far, although reportedly, Carlos Gonzalez is also close to, or I'm sorry, Carlos Gomez close to returning to the Rockies. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets on his 1-year offer. Boy, that's gotta hurt.
Right.
Oh, it does. I mean, now, Pete, let's go revisit one thing. I mean, that's pretty extreme, just in my opinion. Just what you said no to, and then what you were willing to accept when you're like, oh shit, I've only got a few weeks left to basically join any team and get any kind of spring training in. So go back to Fowler when he surprised everybody and came back to Chicago. What was he offered on the qualifying offer, and what did he settle for? I want to say he settled for $8 million, right?
I really don't remember. All I remember is that he was underwhelmed with the offers that he was getting. I think he didn't even get a multi-year offer, or what he did get just wasn't happy for him. Give me a sec. I'll look it up.
I know.
Yeah,
and you got, Pete, somebody mentioned that you're on your computer a lot, which we said. For anybody who doesn't know, when you do these shows, you're usually sitting in front of one anyway. That's why I'm usually looking down, because I can see my guys here and I'm not looking up. I don't like to look at cameras. I don't want to see my face looking back at me.
I wouldn't if I was you either.
I don't.
Well, you can hide your face so that you don't see it.
Look. Much better sight.
It'd be a lot better if it was a flat build than the curved build.
So yeah, Dexter Fowler was offered $17.2 million.
How's that? About like that?
Yeah, about like that.
That'll look great when Jake Arrieta signs for $15 million in a 1-year deal with the Cardinals.
If that happens, which it's not going to, so this is a comfortable bet for me, Pete. Usually I make stupid ones. I will buy a brand new Cardinal hat, and I will not touch the bill.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see it.
I'll wear it every start. All 24 of them before he goes on the DL.
I got a feeling with the injured pitcher in Milwaukee that he might end up going there.
Well, he's not the only one who's got an injury, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to take care of before we rolled into it, it doesn't disqualify my conspiracy theory, but it makes it much more unlikely. So previously, I had said that if Arrieta or any player with a qualifying offer didn't sign, and I thought it was by the start of the year, that the draft pick was no longer attached to him. That's not right. And so I'm going to be upfront about that. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but I thought it was that. It's actually by the June draft. So if any of these guys who received a qualifying offer doesn't sign by the June draft, then there's no longer a draft pick attached to them. Now, with a pitcher, there's a good chance that they might not be signed by that at that point.
Well,
so,
you figure if you're a pitcher, right, how many starts are you missing?
I think it's the signing. I don't think it's the time that they're called up to the major league. So, if somebody signs now and it takes them 3 months to ramp up, it doesn't matter. The draft pick is still attached. So, So mea culpa, fixed that one. And before we get into it anymore, I did want to touch on this as well. I'm going to take over the show in just a minute. Ron, I loved what you did with all the Cardinals Nation 24/7 fans out there. We really appreciate all their support, and particularly Chris's challenge to get us up to 1,000 followers by opening day. I'm not going to attach this specifically to opening day, but I will say this. Once we hit 1,000 followers on Facebook, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to purchase T-shirts for 10 followers randomly selected from Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to send the T-shirts out to them out of those 1,000 plus people who are following us. And that'll take place the moment that we hit 1,000 followers. So share it if you guys want to get a T-shirt, because we know that there are 5, 6 of you out there who have T-shirts, and why not add 10 more?
Well, that was a few more than that. If you go back to the beginning, we gave a few away. So they're out there now.
Good point.
And I let the winners know of the little contest I ran, and of course I evened the score on it. Right, I added one more to even out. I found out two of the 3 were Cub fans, and I couldn't live with that. So I evened the score a little bit, and thank God thankfully I drew a Cardinal fan name out of there. I at least knew the person was a Cardinal fan, so I had to even that up. So yeah, Pete, that's great, and I totally agree. I wanted to mention Cardinals Nation, the Facebook group, and then Cardinals Nation 24/7. Chris is, I mean, guys, you probably see it too because you're. I think both of you guys are following that as well. My goodness, the work he puts in on that group is just, and his page is just, it's incredible. And he's done a lot for us. I mean, he doesn't have to do that, but he does it anyway. And so I really, really thank him for helping us. He doesn't have to, but he does, and we appreciate it immensely.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
All right. Can we talk about, are we off of the Moustakas thing? I think we are, but how?
I think we are. Although to follow up on your question, because I've been doing my research here, Dexter Fowler was offered to $17.2 million in his qualifying offer in 2016.
Yeah.
Came back for $8 million.
$8 million. I knew the $8 million was the number. I didn't know what the QO was at the time. So
not nearly as bad though as what Moustakas has done here.
Oh, that's.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure either. Well, you know what? We put Boris in this basket of all these people that haven't. We kind of like, your knee jerk is that well, a lot of his clients are the ones that remained unsigned, but he's not alone. But a high percentage of his clients are.
Yep, it's Scott Boris.
There you go.
I don't.
How pissed do you think these players might be at this point? Are they just, guys? Think about this for a moment. This has happened a lot this year. It's going to happen to Jake Arrieta. He's not going to get near what he thought he was. At what point is Scott people are going to start looking at him like a dinosaur? Like, man, you gave us bad advice. You misread everything. How many people are questioning?
And not just, this isn't like for one or two players either.
That's what I'm saying. It's like for a ton of them this year.
You got to think that Bryce Harper's nervous about next year now.
You have to. You do. Now he's going to bring prestige value, which I'm pretty sure, Pete. I'm pretty sure. I'm getting close to the mic. Hold on. I'm pretty sure that GMs are probably chuckling about that right now. The whole prestige value thing.
Let me ask. Is Bryce Harper going to bring prestige value? And I'm being 100% serious because at least Eric Hosmer can point to his World Series ring. What's Bryce Harper going to point to? 3 straight division series losses? Hopefully 4 this year?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's got this year. And say they go to the World Series. Say the Nationals win the World Series. I think that changes everything.
I think he walks away regardless.
Well, right. He'll walk away, but I think Washington has a better chance of re-signing him if the Nationals win the World Series this year.
They're going to have an immense amount of pressure, regardless of whether they do or they don't. So they have what's funny about this, guys, is they carry a pitcher like Max Scherzer, Strasburg, and it's hard to think of a team like that has a short window. They have a short window.
Yeah, right. Because they're not going to bring all those pitchers back either.
No. Well, they're already
Gio Gonzalez, I'm sure, is gone.
Yeah. He's going to be gone because what they're going to be left with, especially if here's what's going to happen, guys, and this is the way sometimes these things play out, is that Washington's probably going to be loading up and saving up their. What the hell was that?
You got a critter out there?
I don't know. But Washington's loading up the salvos. They're going to hold on that trigger forever. And guys like Gio, they're probably, if they knew Harper was going to walk, like if they had a crystal ball and said, there's no chance he's going somewhere else, they might lock up guys like that quickly. It's not going to happen. So you're going to lose guys like Gio. Harper's going to eventually go somewhere else, I think. My son's calling.
Right on time.
I must have said something that upset him. Hold on.
Happy birthday, kid.
It was probably about the flat bill.
Yep.
Hey, B.
I just remembered something I forgot to tell you.
Okay.
No, you told him you loved him.
So, I forgot to tell you this on FaceTime.
Okay.
But me and my friends from school are doing a fantasy baseball draft. and I was looking through the internet to try and find a funny nickname to do, and I found this one that said Schwarber ? Never heard of her, and that is my fantasy baseball name. Is
Okay.
Schwarber ? Never heard of her. I thought it was hilarious.
Okay. The guys aren't laughing. The guys aren't laughing at all on the podcast right now.
Man, the guy was terrible last year, so.
All right. Is that what you wanted to share?
Nope. I just remembered it when I was listening.
All right. Is that all you had to share? Anything else?
Nope.
Anything else while we're live right now?
I think he should call his team the Sungwong Oh No's.
Hopes up too high for Schwarber.
What's that? What'd you say?
Don't get your hopes up too high for Schwarber.
Braden's already trying to pull the jinx on him.
Apparently so.
He's trying to do the voodoo on him. All
hey,
right.
Braden, how's your team's closer doing right now?
Oh,
sorry about that.
That was a top. You jumped the gun. I want to get into that later.
We'll get into it.
All right. Hey, bud. Happy birthday. You. What are you doing right now?
I'm just saying.
I'm saying you look like Jesus because there's a light behind your head and there's like a halo over you. And I know you're not. All right, bud. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I love you.
All right, love you.
All right. Once again, you've invaded the podcast. You will be on the live broadcast.
Congratulations.
Yes, I'm good at that.
Happy birthday, Bray.
You know you are. Love you. Bye.
Love you, bye.
Bye. He knows we're on here live.
Yeah, of course he does. He just said he was listening.
I know. All right. So anyway,
Anthony, if you want to call in, I can hold up my phone to the microphone. So I know you're watching. So go ahead, give us a call.
Pete, we just got to get you a soundboard, man. You can just plug it right in. You know, it works so much better. All right. I don't remember where we left off.
We hadn't even started, man.
I know. Let's go.
So, your boy DeYoung, he got an extension.
He did.
After 1 year. Does that make you nervous?
Well, it only makes me nervous because a handful of the last few people that this has happened with, it hasn't worked out. And we can look at, no, it hasn't. It's almost been like a kiss of death, right? Yep. So I work for a consumer products company, and whenever we get a design award, the product never sells. So the design award is a kiss of death. And so, well, it's not sorry, let me correct myself. It's not the company I'm with now. It was a previous company. They won all kinds of design awards, and the products that won design awards never actually sold to real people. So I look at this and I'm not nervous, but this happens a lot. The Cardinals have done this a lot. They did it with Alan Craig. They've done it with, why am I drawing a blank on this? Colton Wong. They've done it with Stephen Piscotty. And it's just, you look at these things, I'm like, I get why they do it. I get the logic, because they could actually end up having to pay these guys more in arbitration if they're great. But what happens is if say DeYoung totally flames out this year, and I don't think he will, but if he totally flames out this year, you have a guy that's on the books for the next 5 years, and it makes it that much harder to move guys like that. Look what they had to, Craig had to be dumped along with Joe Kelly just to get John Lackey. Right?
Well, yeah, you can look no further than the Cubs, right? And they did two at the same time. One of them worked out, one of them not so much, right? They extended Starlin Castro and Anthony Rizzo almost at the exact same time, and they pretty much had to dump Starlin Castro to the Yankees.
Yeah. Well, that was it just doesn't, I mean, it's not a big amount of money in the scheme of things. We're talking about guys that are signed for a hell of a lot more. But Paul DeYoung, think about this, guys. Put it in context here. He wasn't even part of their plan. Upon opening day last year, he was in AAA. Aledmus Diaz was the shortstop,
right? And
all of a sudden, DeYoung comes up. I don't know how many games he played. It was over 100, but it's like now he's, that's a pretty good chunk of change. At 6 years, $26 million.
Yeah, I mean, look, he could have a second year like Schwarber did, or you could have a second year.
Right.
Where you could have like what Addison Russell's third year was, where there was regression, and then the fans are going to be looking at this and be like, God, we're going to have this guy for another 6 years, and maybe he plays that kind of ball. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he, a lot of guys do take a step back at some point, and then they progress forward, but you hope to not see that after signing a guy for a lot of money.
Yeah, so I mean, nervous, overly nervous, no. But I think just because of maybe it's just bad luck. The last couple times this has happened, it just doesn't really seem like it's paid off. And all of a sudden, you're looking to get rid of these guys before those extensions. I don't call them extensions. Those buyout years of arbitration, maybe 1 year of free agency expire. So hasn't really. We haven't had one recently that's really worked well. I mean, look, the jury's still out on whether extending Martinez, buying out his arbitration years, is going to be a value or not. I think we'll see. Hopefully, that guy can pull it all together. But no, I mean, overly nervous, no, because it's not a huge chunk of money. But I just hope it's not a jinx, because it feels like a jinx. If you're a Cardinal fan, you're tepidly following everything. It feels like a jinx.
And meanwhile, within hours of that contract being signed, Cardinals only extended Tommy Pham $570,000 for this year. They offered him a 2-year contract. Pham and his agents said that the offer just wasn't strong enough. Pham is going to bet on himself, but boy, is that – I don't blame Tommy Pham at all for what he did. But I wonder if it's worth it from the Cardinals' point of view. I understand them trying to extend him on a 2-year contract to lock him up, but then only offer him $570,000 after the year that he had last year. That doesn't send much of a message. Do you really want to antagonize your players like that?
No, Pete. And I think that the negative about it is it's just bad optics to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
If you're a free agent and you're considering St. Louis, if they're on your radar whatsoever, and you hear about things like this, you kind of like, it has to make some people cause for pause, right? So it's just bad optics. But I get why they did what they did, because Tommy Pham has, I mean, he just turned 30. He's had really his first full season. We like the guy. I like the fire in his belly. I like his drive. And I like that he's a little cocky. I mean, I think that given the lack of personality that they had in their clubhouse for a few years, I like this guy a lot. I hope this pays off for him. I hope he gets what he wants. But at the same time, you're right, Pete. I mean, we talked about this before we hit the record button. It's a big risk on his part. He has to stay healthy. The eye issue can't come back, and so it's a risk. So I understand it from both sides, but yeah, no, good for him. Not a lot of guys are willing to do that, and so he's hopefully it pays off for him.
The Cubs just gave Wilson Contreras $604,000. So
that son of a bitch. Well, he is going to be the greatest ever.
He is. That's right.
He's like the Ricky Henderson of this generation.
I mean, and you got to kind of look at it too. I mean, Tommy Pham, I mean, he knows how old he is, and he's looking at. You could probably say, yeah, that if he keeps this going, he'll be one of the stars out there in all of baseball. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at what Bryant got in his second year of arbitration at $10 million. I mean, he's got to figure, hey, the money's out there. Why are you going to offer me $500 when I know your pockets are a lot deeper than that?
But there's a difference there, because Chris Bryant is a better player. He's a younger player, and he has done it for an extended period of time, right? And I just wonder, if I'm Tommy Pham, if I have another blowout year like I did this year, do I even want? I know he's under their control. Do I want to come back to the Cardinals when I'm able to chart my own destiny? They kept shuttling him up and down between AAA. They never really seemed to believe in him. He has a breakout year, and they reward him with a little over $500,000. I get why he's ticked off. I don't know that I would necessarily want to come back, especially when I think that there are probably 20-some teams that could use my services for a couple of years, even though he is going to be on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah. Well, and that's obviously playing a part of this, but
Sure.
The thing you got to think about the Cardinals outfield situation in its full context, right? They've got Marcell Ozuna, newest Cardinal. They've got control of him for 2 years. Fowler, he's on the books for 4 more. They have a lot of outfielders in their minor league system. They have, Adolis Garcia. They've got Harrison Bader, who's fighting for a 4th spot. Yes, I know, Pete. I know you're fighting it back. Harrison, the masturbator.
I said nothing.
I could feel it. They have a lot of depth in their minor league system. So from that standpoint, you think if you're the Cardinals, they can probably afford to take that risk. But I still think, to your point you made earlier, it's just bad optics to the rest of the league.
Yep.
A guy that put this much effort and fought this hard to crack into the major league roster and stick there and have the success he did last year. You would like to see a guy like that get rewarded. It makes everybody feel better. But the ugly side of this is just the business side of it. And so I get that too. But I hope it pays off for him, because I like the guy. Now, he might be one of those John Lackey type people. Now I'm talking the young John Lackey, that you hate that guy when he's not on your team, but when he's on your team, you appreciate his competitiveness. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. He's got to prove it this year, but I'm rooting for him.
I wonder if it has any effect whatsoever on Marcell Ozuna and their ability to lock him up.
Well, I think the way Ozuna performs this year will determine that. Because the Cardinals they no longer have that count on it year in and year out cornerstone player. The last one they had that they could count on was Holiday. I mean, I realized at the end of his Cardinal tenure, he had some injury things he was dealing with, but guys, he played with them for 7 years. Year in and year out, the guy was pretty money on the numbers he was going to put out. And They do not have that right now. They don't. They can't bank on anybody right now. And so if he performs again this year, like anywhere near where he did last year, they're going to have to pay somebody on the offensive side of the ball something. They're paying Yachty based on his legacy, based on his leadership, based on his ability to handle a pitching staff. They're definitely not paying him for future projection, because we all know it's going to go down.
Right.
But they've got to have that corner. So they got to have somebody in the middle of that order they can build around. So if Ozuna produces this year, they're going to have to shell it out.
I just wonder if they're going to be able to. They've got him. He's under control for what, 2 years, right?
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder. He's a Boris client. He's going to go to the market.
Well,
guarantee it.
But the Cardinals, it's not like okay. So I know there's some teams that just can't see Boris deals through. Matt Holliday was a Boris client. Now, Matt Holliday did test the free agent market. He ended up coming back to St. Louis. Now, St. Louis may have been bidding against themselves. Who knows? But, it's not like they haven't been able to make that work, but they're not a Nationals in terms of Boris.
Sure.
Nobody is.
Right.
No, that's right.
Until that ownership group passes away and sells a team, it's just a conduit. So,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Conduit to the learner's bank account.
Right. Can we talk a little bit about Jake Arrieta? Because I'm fascinated by this one.
Yeah.
So what do we got on Jake Arrieta?
I have no idea.
Mystery team coming after him, and I hate that. I hate when you hear that or you read that on Twitter. You hear about it like, okay, mystery team. What the hell?
So this is not the Phillies.
I think I read somewhere that they animated it might be the Padres.
Oh yes, Pete. Really? You're right. I did see that.
That it could be the Padres who are going after him, which would be interesting. I have to admit, I never would have thought he'd end up there, but
hey, Padres are having a great spring.
They are.
That's all they ever have. Spring training. They have great spring, and they have great Rule 5 bottom feeder plecostomus fish drafts. They just eat shit off the rocks, and that's what they're always going to do.
So they're crappies.
Mm-hmm.
In case you missed it, Ron is not a fan of the San Diego Padres.
They are whoever has a top half farm system, man. Don't put it's impossible to not protect anybody, but count on the San Diego Padres pilfering your system because they are not smart enough to develop their own. Enough said. Done.
Done.
Hope they move that team to Vegas.
Are we thinking at this point that Arrieta will possibly sit out the first part of the season and wait for a deal?
I don't know. I'm going to defer to Pete on that. I'm not going to answer.
You know what? I honestly don't know. I think if there's anybody who would sit out, it would be him. He just seems that stubborn to me. I think that he would. But who knows? I mean, Lance Lynn and Alex Cobb are still out there too. You have to think that
Greg Holland, right?
And Greg Holland.
Yep.
Boy, he's got to be kicking himself.
He had a multi-year offer, right?
Although who knows? I mean, he may be. It may not look so bad in a couple of days. With what's coming out of Cardinals camp, man.
Oh boy, yeah. And you've got you've hit their sensitive topic right now, right? Because we kind of went into this whole spring training with it was almost as if Gregerson was anointed the closer. That's too strong. He was going to get the first shot. It was going to be his job to lose, and now he's got an oblique issue. Oblique issues are not a day-to-day thing. I mean, you're out 4 to 6 weeks. He's absolutely not going to be ready for the beginning of the year.
No.
So
no chance whatsoever.
So who's it going to be? That's the big question Cardinal fans are asking. Like, who's going to get a shot at this? Is it going to be bullpen by committee? Who loves that? Nobody.
Oh, I don't know, but Ron, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know you're not a fan of the whole bullpen cart thing.
You son of a bitch! You're going to say it, aren't you?
But given the injuries and Elliot brought this to my attention, and I just wanted to share it with everybody who's watching us live on YouTube. The Cardinals just released an image of their planned bullpen cart for the 2018 system.
Wait, put that back up.
It should be up. All I have to do is keep talking, and it's going to continue to show. How do you like that, Ron? That'll look fantastic coming out of the bullpen.
That's pretty accurate, actually. I mean,
it really is, isn't it?
Yep. Thank God O got signed last week, because this wouldn't be looking too good right now. You've really hit a sensitive subject to Cardinal fans.
Somebody might want to toss a match in the back of that, because that needs flames coming out of the back of it too.
Yeah, no, that's funny. I'll give you credit on that. That was a very clever thing you did there, Pete.
Well, all I did was pull it off of Twitter after Elliot shared it. So
yeah.
Well, congratulations, Elliot. You've contributed to this one. That is a topic that Cardinal fans are heated up about, and I'm sure that I'm not even sure. I've read it already. The frustration's coming out because an oblique is just it's a long healing process. Those guys, it takes a lot of time. They're not back quick.
It kind of gets. It's interesting. It gets to a point that we've discussed before on the show, and that is spring training too long? The Cubs dodged a bullet today. It certainly looked like their starting second baseman, their primary second baseman, was going to come down with a hamstring injury, and that was Javier Baez. He apparently tweaked his hamstring, but as it turns out, all it was dehydration, and he said that he's 100%. He's good to go. He just needs to drink more water before games. But we've talked about it before, and I wonder, is spring training just too long? The length of spring training and the time was set back when guys, and I've read this several times. I mean, Joe Madden talked about it earlier. It used to be in spring training, guys use spring training to get in shape.
Not anymore.
Guys are coming to spring training in phenomenal shape now. And so
except Pablo Sandoval.
What do you mean? He is in an exceptional shape. He's a circle.
Which is
a circle is a shape.
It is a shape. Yeah.
A circle is a shape. Could you cut spring training 2 or 3 weeks shorter? You assume that these guys are going to be in better shape. So
by cutting it, you mean starting it later.
Yeah, start it 2 or 3 weeks later. Reduce the chance of injury so that these guys can get right into the season so that you don't have this. Because we know that the only guys who are out there really busting their butts are the guys who probably aren't going to make the team anyway, or the guys who are very close to making the team and have something to prove.
One of the viewers right now is saying hell yes, and that's Scott Boris watching this. Like, hell yes, push spring training back 2 weeks. Why wouldn't you do that?
Give me more time to not get my clients signed. Or signed a really bad deal.
And we never totally got into that earlier, so we got to come back to it by the end of the show. We got to come back to when our player is going to start looking at him going, no, I've got to second guess my faith in what you're whispering in my ear when I'm reading things or hearing things.
Yep.
So no, won't go down that path right now. So this is just another player that I wanted to touch on tonight was Lance Lynn, and you talked about it earlier. It was a 2-year offer, or in the neighborhood of 2-year offer, and I believe I might be getting Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
A 2-year offer. I want to say it was 20 million or under.
Right, 20 million.
And I think that they might still be in play for Arrieta, so they threw something out there to see if that would produce anything, because they need that Arrieta. They need an ace on their staff.
Yep.
So poor Lance Lynn. I mean, I really thought that guy would have been signed by somebody like a Baltimore or somebody kind of mid-range, maybe the Phillies, who needed a veteran on the staff, and all these guys. It's really surprising, guys. If you would have rewind the clock 2 months from now, we wouldn't have thought all these guys were still sitting out there unsigned this late into spring training, and it is late, guys. We're on March 8th.
It's really, really late.
Yeah, I mean, you still have Matt Holliday, Jonathan Lucroy. Greg Holland, Jose Bautista still isn't with the team. Cobb, Arrieta. I mean,
Bautista doesn't surprise me at all, though. That one year. I mean, the way things go now, it's a young man's game in baseball, and
it is. And they're no longer paying for past performance, which is a long time coming.
So I almost feel like it's the mentality of these players. They need to realize that the stock price has gone down on aging players, and they need to realize that teams are no longer going to pay for what they did. They want to pay for what they're going to get.
Yeah, right. And the players and Scott Boras are behind the curve on the way the business is thinking. Right.
Yep,
I mean, the way the teams are thinking, the way baseball, the economics are working out right now with youth. Youth is obviously cost controlled. How do you produce youth? Build a good farm system.
Right.
And you wonder, guys. I mean, eventually, you look at a league like the NFL. With the exception of a guy like Ray Lewis, it's a short lifespan, right? I mean,
very short.
Yeah, especially if you're a running back, right? Like, good luck if you survive 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, Matt Forte is retiring.
Yeah,
and he's not
crazy, right? I mean, look at guys like we grew up with, like Walter Payton, who we all saw
a long time.
Right.
Hey, Urlacher had a long career.
Well, running backs, I think I read somewhere that the average career for an NFL running back is something like 4 years.
You can't get excited about him that long. Look at Sean Alexander out of Seattle, right? He had Terrell Davis. You heard about these guys for like 2 or 3 years, and then one injury, and you never hear about them again. And then they sign with another team for a year, and then they end up retiring. I'm just wondering, guys, where I was going with this is that, are we ever going to see baseball in this condition? Because it is a young man's game these days. And are we going to see these guys that stick around after 35, 36 and are able to still produce at a high level? Is this all about the advanced analytics driving this? Is this economics driving this? Combination of both? It just makes you wonder, like, where is this game going? Are we going to am I going to feel comfortable as a 12-year-old? I've saved my allowance up. I want to go buy my favorite player's jersey. 20 years ago, no problem. Now it's like, I love the guy, but in a year, I might not even be able to wear this anymore. He might not be on the team. So where's this all going?
We talked about it in the last show, right? The only time that I would advise buying a player's jersey is if they if they blow up while they're still under team control, like a Chris Bryant jersey, or else it's somebody who you know is going to retire with the team because they're at the end of their career, like David Ross. I think the days for the most part are gone where players play with one team, establish themselves, and then retire with that team. I mean,
yeah,
my fingers are crossed that it happens with Anthony Rizzo because he's my son's favorite player. But we'll see. Given all the contracts projected to be signed,
you have so many of those guys on the Cubs. One of those guys is going to finish their career. It's either going to be Bryant, Rizzo, could be Baez, could be Russell. I mean, one of those guys is going to finish their career out there. And I'm thankful in a lot of ways that we as Cardinal fans will get to see Yadier Molina retire. If you believe what he says, we'll get to see him actually retire. That might be the last Cardinal that was drafted and retired with the same organization. I mean, the way things are going these days. So it is a rarity. I guess Russell and Rizzo weren't even drafted. I mean, their professional career didn't start and end with Chicago, but I get your point. Like, where did you spend your professional career? As a big leaguer, as a big leaguer on the 25-man roster, going to get more rare and rare. I really hate to see it end up like the NFL where these guys have short lifespans. I mean, because none of us are major college fans, right? I mean, I don't know you guys, and so that's college. That's a college fandom, right? I mean, you love the team more than you do the players. You have to, or you would not care about college.
Absolutely.
But as baseball fans growing up in the era we did,
there's investment in players,
but you love the players, and that's what's so hard for us to accept. Guys moving on, this shift to youth. We don't value anymore after 32 years old. You're free to walk, and so that's why it's harder for us to absorb that. It's a struggle,
right? And that's why I think, like we were saying before, these guys need to start accepting this new reality that they're not going to get paid in their later years for what they did before. They need to probably start thinking, hey, if I take a team-friendly contract here, so maybe we could pay some of these younger guys who are performing at a higher level to keep this team together. Maybe they need to start thinking they need to do that.
Right.
And along those lines, to a certain extent, good to see Ichiro heading back to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
One of the good stories of this offseason. And I love that too. I mean, that guy,
he does not age.
No, and talk about confidence, right? We talked earlier about Tommy Pham being confident in himself. Ichiro said that he wants to
play till he's 50.
No. He corrected it. That was the conventional wisdom, is that everybody believes that he wants to play till he's 50. He corrected that at his press conference. He wants to play till he's at least 50.
You know what? I would love to see it, guys.
Me too. And one of the interesting things that I read about it in all the press that came out when he was signed is that apparently he works incessantly, even in the off season. He's taken one vacation during his entire career to Milan during the off season, and apparently he hated it because he couldn't get in a batting cage during the time. So great to see. There was a small part of me that kind of hoped that the Cubs would sign him as their fifth outfielder.
It's a great work ethic, but it might be some kind of mental illness too. I mean, we don't know. Most of us don't love our jobs as much as he does. So yeah, more power to him. That is a good thing to see. You know what the other thing was? I mean, we've never, I don't know if we've ever talked about this. It was kind of cool to see Ken Griffey end up there at the end too. So guys, I want to ask you this. I was thinking about this today. One of you just said it, like he's cocky, right? Ichiro is, and he should be. I mean, he came over here as a veteran Japanese player.
Yeah.
Broke into this league and was just dominant.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Hall of Famer. He has Major League Hall of Fame credentials independent of anything he ever did in Japan. First ballot. Absolutely. And that is going to be it. I think that will be a big deal for baseball. That will be a good thing for baseball that a Japanese player is going to be inducted first ballot, no question.
Yep.
No jackass should not vote for him. I mean, you look at the guy, really, did the guy do performance-enhancing drugs? Look at him.
Clearly not.
He's the size of my brother.
Well, and you know what I really love?
He's the same size as what Barry Bonds was when he broke into the.
Not the Barry Bonds that
And the thing that I loved about him was that his approach at the plate was a choice. Because if you paid attention to him, when he wanted to muscle up, he could.
Yep.
He could hit home runs. He wasn't gonna crush home runs like the sluggers, but he could hit home runs. He chose to play the game the way that he did.
And he could do a running slap hit and fool everybody on the infield.
Yeah.
He was halfway down the line by the time he made contact with that ball.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So, guys, speaking of Ichiro, because you said cocky, who is the cockiest baseball player of our era that we've been physically watching? Not that we watched documentaries on in the 50s and 60s.
Barry Bonds.
I could easily point to Bob Gibson.
I
disagree with you, Pete, vehemently. I think it was Ricky Henderson.
Vehemently?
Yep. Or violently. Shit.
Vehemently?
Behemothly.
Vehemently?
No, that's not what I said.
Vehemently.
Yeah.
Who?
Well, the thing is Ricky Henderson.
Ricky Henderson. I think Ricky Henderson was the cockiest baseball player I've ever seen. Yeah. And listen.
Because he referred to himself in the third person?
No. Go back to when he broke the stolen base record and he held the base up over his head and said, "I'm the greatest of all time," with Lou Brock standing like 6 feet away from him.
He was the greatest of all time.
He was, but I mean, like you know how the PC thing that most people do, they acknowledge the former record holder and then they act graceful and everything.
Yeah.
The thing is, I know Lou Brock is a former Cardinal, but I love this because I think that is just who Ricky was. I don't think he did it as a disrespectful thing. He's like, "Hey man, I am the best now. I'm going to hold this base up in triumph." Like it's the skull of the king I just conquered in front of all their people. And so I was never offended by it. I kind of I've always chuckled at that, but I'm always like, Ricky has never offended me because I think that is just who he is. I think he thinks that highly of himself and he doesn't mean to offend anybody. He's just, I'm great.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I guess when you said the cockiest, immediately it went to cocky, and I didn't like him for it. I appreciated Ricky Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
I never liked Barry Bonds' act.
No.
That was more of a hold on. I don't know if this is the right term, and I'm sure Pete will correct me. I get this when Barry Bonds would talk, even on like talk shows or interviews. I got this sense of aloof superiority, right? This kind of like, I don't have time to really discuss this with you. I'm just, we shouldn't talk about salaries. I know I get paid a lot, but I don't really need to talk to you about it. That, that kind of thing. It rubbed you. It was a different rub than it was somebody like Ricky. Ricky's like, you look at him and it's like, man, that is the way that guy has always been.
Yep. Well, and also I think with Barry Bonds, what rubbed me the wrong way also is that I had nothing against Barry. It's funny. I had nothing against Barry Bonds when he was younger, when he was with the Pirates, right? And he was, he was Barry Bonds. He wasn't Barry Bonds. Once he started using PEDs and swelled up to 3 times his original size, it was hard to take his act anymore because you couldn't take him seriously. Dude, what you're doing now is not entirely due to your God-given ability.
Right. Well, here's what rubbed me the wrong way about that. It wasn't even about the PEDs, man. It's about looking at a player that rarely smiled, that looked like he was just miserable when he was playing.
Yeah.
Like never had any fun. Like, why would you ever want to be this guy's teammate? Ever. Why would you ever go to the battle for that guy? Why would you ever defend that guy? If a player plunked one in his ribs, and of course you couldn't get past his elbow crab armor.
Right.
But if another pitcher like threw at his head, if you were a Giant at the time, and definitely not Jeff Kent, but would you ever go to that guy's defense?
Well, I mean, I don't know. If I was that pitcher, I would just say, look at the size of that thing. It's kind of hard to miss it.
Well, yeah, his elbow brace, right?
No, but, his head.
It
was massive when he was playing for the Giants.
Barry Bonds would be the type of guy that a brawl would break out, and he'd be the only guy sitting in the dugout still.
Yeah, right. No, you're right. You're exactly right, Elliot, and that's why I think he was an unpleasant player for me to watch because he just didn't seem like he was enjoying anything. He was doing this to make his numbers, to prove a point. I rarely smiled, rarely like celebrated anything, and so none of us could relate to it.
Nope, not at all.
And so, Barry can go, well, people don't like me because they suspect I did something. No, it's kind of obvious, man. Look at the size of your grape from when you were young to when you're old.
Right.
But we didn't like you for your unpleasantness. That's why we don't like you.
Right. 100% correct.
We love Ricky. We love Ricky Henderson now because there's not a Ricky Henderson in this league, and I want one.
Well, if Kyle Schwarber keeps stealing bases at the rate that he's been stealing in spring training,
he is not Ricky.
Hey, he's 5th in Major League Baseball in spring training stolen bases. Don't sleep on Kyle.
You have hurled at me. You hurled at me last season. What do spring training stats mean?
Nothing.
You chuck those over like a 1980s bronze medalist at discus.
And I still do. I'm just throwing those out there now to get under your and Braden's skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So listen, one more thing that we definitely had, and then we'll have to take a look at the clock to see if we go any further. John Lester apparently has a new approach to solve his problems, throwing over to first base. Elliot.
I thought he was past all that.
No, well, he is now because he's found success. Elliot, what does John Lester have in store for us this season?
He does the chest bounce pass that you learn when you're in grade school, that you bounce it to the person in front of you. He is freaking bouncing he is spiking it to the ground halfway in between the pitcher's mound and first to get his outs so that he doesn't have to worry about throwing it all the way there. The 20 feet between him and the first baseman.
Hey, if it works, man, go with it.
I know. Well, his first one of the season didn't.
Well, that's because I think that who was it? Was it Rademacher or whoever it was he was throwing to? He was not expecting that. I think if it had been Rizzo, he would have been fine.
Well, I'm not sure what to say about that one, guys. I'm really not.
I can't wait.
Just tell Tommy Pham not to take a 20.
That's right. I don't know which was worse. The fact that Tommy Pham took that giant lead and got picked off, or the fact that Tim McCarver said, he's not going to throw over there.
It doesn't matter. You add it all up, man. It is that will go down, at least in my personal history book, as one of the funniest Cardinal moments I've ever seen.
I got to tell you, I don't know if it's no, I do know. I don't know of a stupider smart baseball player than Tim McCarver. He constantly beclowns himself. It's one thing to watch somebody like Steve Stone, right? And just be amazed at, like, Steve Stone is a really good analyst. He will tell you what's going to happen on the next play before it actually happens, and he'll nail it. Tim McCarver, my God, you could tell him what's going to happen and he would still screw it up.
No, he still disagree with you, and there's
I feel like things like
listening. No.
I feel like things like that only happen to Tim McCarver and Tom Brenneman.
Enough already.
Yeah.
I guess we've blown our shot at getting Tim McCarver and Tom Brenneman on this podcast.
No, we're gonna get somebody. I'm gonna get Dan McLaughlin on here.
So what do you say? Do we wrap it up, or do we talk about the second greatest leadoff hitter of all time?
No, we wrap it up.
Okay, sounds good. I guess we'll talk about Ian Happ, Adam Wainwright, and Kylo Hendricks next week on the Team Rivals.
Son of a bitch. You are not saying that.
Put it in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So for those of you who are new to all of this, you can find us on the various social medias, on Twitter at Team of Rivals Podcast, or I'm sorry, at Team of Rivals Pod. On Instagram, I'm at Team of Rivals Podcast. And you can find us on Facebook at Team of Rivals Podcast as well. You can contact Elliot on Twitter. And I can't tell if I should jump in or if I should allow the coughing spasm to pass. No, it looks like he's recovered. Elliot, where can people contact you on Twitter?
You can find me at TOR_Elliott, ELLIOTT.
Excellent. You can find everything related to the Team of Rivals Podcast at teamofrivalspodcast.com. And you can send us an email at theshow@teamofrivalspodcast.com. And then obviously the most important part, watching or listening to us, obviously those of you who are watching us live right now on YouTube, you're welcome to continue to do so. Or you can follow us after the fact, because every show is archived on YouTube. Please follow, like, rate, review, share, whether it's YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, or Spotify for your podcasting needs. Ron, it's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure this week, guys. And thank you for, we mentioned it earlier, thank you for catching me up on most of what's happened. I've only caught snippets. I've only been able to read headlines. I've not been able this week to read anything in depth. And so, guys, thanks for carrying the load this week. I really appreciate it. I'm on a plane early tomorrow morning, headed back to the homeland. But everybody, have a great weekend. Don't do anything stupid. All right. Love y'all. Hold on.
Don't do anything stupid like sign someone.
You were leaning towards the mic. I had to ask. Do you have anything to add? All right. He obviously doesn't. He just wants to.
Have a good week.
You done coughing? I'm done coughing. All right. Bye, everyone.